Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today is Tuesday, December 24th, 2024. Merry Christmas Eve. I hope that you're all ready for the big day tomorrow. Lots going on as usual. Warrior culture in the military, says Polyev. Ethically challenged finance minister in Dominic LeBlanc. How can we trust this guy? He tried to put his sister in as an ethics commissioner after he breached ethics laws. So that's, concerning, right? Will Trudeau prorogue the Parliament, the House? Maybe. Everybody's asking him to. Anthony Housefather's telling him, you've got to prorogue because if you don't prorogue, I'm going to lose my seat, man. Think of the Housefathers, he says. Digital ID rolling out in 2025 in the United Kingdom. And the whole selling point is basically, you want to buy a beer really easily, and buying a beer when you're 25 and under can be a real pain. So here's your digital ID. It's like the selling point is really, really bad. The value proposition, very, very awful. Like it's like, buy this because you owe me a favor. Like that's not a good reason to buy the thing, because if I owe you a favor, I'll just give you the money, keep the thing, right? Like, holy smokeronies. Larry Brock has a Christmas message. There's all sorts of other stuff. I've got Silent Night put on by a choir by Donald Trump and so much more. But if you need a last minute Christmas gift for me, how about this robot dog with wheels for feet? And I can't wait till they put a gun on its head. And somebody was saying, imagine trying to outrun this. Somebody else said, this is CGI. You're being tricked by CGI, Mark. Obviously, this is CGI. This doesn't exist. This looks pretty real to me. I'll show this to you. So this, just before we get to Silent Night, here's a robot dog with no gun on its head, but it's all terrain. And I'll show you what I mean by that. But there's a guy riding it. Right, there you go. He's like he's having fun. And it goes over very rough terrain, like steep hills, grassy hills, down skateboard jumps, right? It's pretty crazy. And I'll show you the beginning of this thing here. It rolls around like it's very nimble, 2 wheels, right? And yeah, trying to push this thing over, I don't know. It's got a lot more versatility than your average robot dog. Can't wait till they put a gun on its head, because it's coming, right? If they've got a robot dog that can chase you down under any terrain and be faster than a two-legged person, that thing's gonna they're gonna use that thing. I don't think in warfare, but for domestic, for those domestic people who don't do what they're told, just like those anti-vaxxers. This is Larry Brock's Christmas message because it's Christmas time. And Christmas Eve, if you can't lean into the Christmas, when can you? There is a lot of news, as usual, right, with Canadian politics and what's going on. The tariffs countdown is less than a month away, right? And so Merry Christmas, Canada. Fingers crossed that those 25% tariffs don't come in. But I thought this was interesting. Both Larry Brock and Melissa Ferreri have the same kind of bumpers for their Christmas message. Were they told to put out a Christmas message by the party, or is this just what they're doing? Were they told by Parliament? Who knows? It's got the House of Commons at the beginning, and at the end it says Happy Holidays. Right? Isn't that weird? Merry Christmas, they say with enthusiasm, but Happy Holidays in the text. Weird, right? We've got to be all encompassing on Christmas, I guess. Here's Larry Brock's Christmas message. It's fine. It doesn't dwell on the message of some people aren't doing well, which is what I had a problem with yesterday. It's fine. Here we go.
As Christmas approaches, we celebrate the joy, warmth, and kindness that bring us together as Canadians. It's a time to reflect on the blessings we share and to reach out with compassion to those facing hardship. I am truly grateful to all those who serve our country with dedication, protecting the freedoms we hold dear. Wishing my community at Brantford Brant and all Canadians from coast to coast a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
There you go. Happy Holidays, says the text. Merry Christmas, says Larry Brock. Here's Donald Trump presiding over a choir singing Silent Night. It's Christmas Eve. I hope you don't mind and indulge me a little bit. It's nice. Here we go. Oh, what a time to buffer. Right at the end. We'll just leave it there. We'll just leave it there. It was very nice. Moving on a little bit. Canada does very, very cringe-worthy videos like this. Omar Algebra had top secret something or others for Santa. And I can't help but wonder who exactly their audience is. Who are they making these little films for? It's a minute 25. It looks like an episode of Veep. It really feels like an episode of Veep. I've just got a notification that I've reconnected to my VPN, so this should play okay. This is 25 seconds of really wonky, here are the reports, minister, that you've been waiting for, and just a bunch of listing off reports, and then trying to insert propaganda, like, oh, the inflation rate's down and things like that. And here's where the rubber meets the road, and they're talking about Santa. I like the Trump Silent Night better than this, okay? Much better than this. I'm showing this to you because it's cringy, not because I like it and not because I want to promote it. I just want to show it to you because this is what our tax dollars are paying for. Okay, here we go.
On the holiday travel preparations.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
Don't forget, we need your urgent approval to clear Santa's flight. He's scheduled to take off soon. It's one of your new responsibilities as Minister of Transport.
I've been so looking forward to doing this. Is Santa well rested and ready to fly?
Santa has submitted all his pre-clearance forms and the reindeer are healthy and ready to fly.
Oh, hi, Santa.
Hello, Minister.
Nope. Nope. Who are they making that for? Who are they making that for? Really, honestly, who are they making that for? Give me a choir that's singing Silent Night. Darn, I was hoping it was just going to play and finish it off. Darn. Well, sometimes things work out, sometimes they don't. But pretty wild stuff. And I think it's a waste of money to pay for people who can't act to pretend about this whole infrastructure around Santa's flight, et cetera, et cetera. Here is somebody's animated Justin Trudeau's most recent speech talking about the family spat in the Liberal caucus, in the Liberal cabinet. And it's amazing. Chrystia Freeland sitting there while the whole House of Commons burns down around her, just placidly sitting there until the piano falls on her. Fan-friggin-tastic. Whoever put this together, wonderful. This is a Christmas gift in and of itself. Here we go.
Because that's what we really are, a big family. Like most families, sometimes we have fights around the holidays. But of course, like most families, we find our way through it. You know, it's hard not to feel happy when we're like this among liberals.
Amazing. Amazing. So good. I mean, really, honestly, brava. Here is Western Standard. They're reporting Saskatchewan and Calgary will declare December as Christian Heritage Month. So that's interesting. Calgary is the surprising one in this headline. The province of Saskatchewan will become the first in Canada to proclaim December as Christian Heritage Month, while Calgary will become the next municipality to do so. According to a government document shared with Western Standard, Saskatchewan's proclamation will be officially declared December 4th. The document includes a royal seal and was signed by Alan Ross, Minister of Parks, Culture and Sport. Crazy. This was published on December 3rd. I think I reported on this, but I didn't register that Calgary had done that. So I'm glad I saved it till Christmas Eve. So there you go. Wonderful. I'm glad that they did that. Mario is talking about the United States, and this is a Merry Christmas Eve story. American Airlines grounds all flights nationwide. I mean, it's not a very merry good story. It's a kind of a crazy story, right? The FAA confirms American Airlines has halted all flights due to a nationwide technical issue. Developing story. Man, like what a day. 7:14 a.m. on December 24th. What a day to go with that, eh? To have that happen. What an unbelievable turn of events. Here is this is actually a good story, a heartwarming story. Amy Ham, who has been standing up for women's rights and standing up for free speech and sensible sanity, really, in a lot of things. And her and I got into a conversation, and she was on one side of it and I was on the other. And I said, like, largely, I think we agree, but I don't know why we're fighting about this. Anyway, regardless of all of that, she was publicly ogling a purse and didn't ask anybody for it. She was just saying, oh, it's very pretty. I wish that I could afford this purse. And then J.K. Rowling was like, you know what? Send me, like, DM me your address. I'll buy it for you. And she's like, you've done such hard work and blah, 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 blah. You deserve this. And man, like, holy smoke, how heartwarming is that, right? So here she is showing off the purse that J.K. Rowling bought her. And that's cool. That's a cool thing to happen. She says, I love J.K. Rowling. Thank you for making my Christmas so exciting, J.K. Rowling. I will cherish this beautiful handbag for the rest of my days. More than that, thank you for standing up for women. I mean, that's cool, right? That's super cool. So congratulations for winning the most niche prize you can possibly win. Like, unbelievable. And here's a Christmas story. I talk about this sometimes. And I came across this video years ago. I fly on flights sometimes, and I get more out of documentaries than I get out of any kind of entertaining or movie that's supposed to be entertaining, because I kind of just see through the entertaining movies. They're boring. I see the plot points. I can predict the plot points. I'm like, oh, whatever. Like, who cares? I don't care that, Captain America is going to do blah, blah, blah. Sometimes they're entertaining, but it's like on a flight, I just don't care. I want something that's going to engage my brain in a way that those popcorn movies just don't. And so one year I downloaded, and you're going to be offended. Some people may be offended, and I apologize for the offense that this title may cause, but the title is just the title. So one year I downloaded Jesus Christ Never Existed by Eric Dubé. And it's a collection of stories that compare the Jesus Christ story to other notable heroes throughout history. And the Jesus Christ story is very similar to other notable heroes. And the documentary posits that Jesus Christ is actually the Son. That's who it is. And the Son is that hero story is written in the heavens, so the stars in the sky, and the stars, the sun, and stars, all of the stars in the sky, and they have their own names and their own mythos and all the rest of it. Because for a really long time we didn't have TV, so what did we do? We went out to fires and we told stories about the stars. But fundamentally, I'm not trying to make a point about that either way. I thought it was an interesting documentary in and of itself. But on December 24th, that's where we are today, this is what happens in the sky. And I think I want to share that with you because I think it's interesting. And then we'll get into the Canadian politics real thick, I promise. But this is kind of my Christmassy thing, so deal with it. Apologies. Or fast forward. You could fast forward. Anyway, Elizabeth says, shares this, the three wise men traveling, and the angel said unto them, fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. And so I've said before that on the winter solstice, on December 21st, the sun stops falling in the sky because from the summer solstice, the sun starts rising lower and lower in the sky. The days start shortening, or the sun starts rising lower and lower in the sky progressively until it's lowest in the sky on this winter solstice on the 21st. And then it rises to the same low height for the next 3 days. And on December 25th, it's reborn. And this is what happens in the sky, according to this documentary. Take it with a grain of salt. I think it's interesting. And you can go out and check and see if this is right tonight if you're interested. Here we go.
During the Christmas season, it's rather precise, actually, and you can see it with your own eyes. If you go outside during the evening in mid-December, look to the eastern horizon, and wait until you see Orion's belt rise on the horizon, you'll notice that it's been dark for quite some time while you wait for this to happen. But if we wait 1 month and go outside during the evening in mid-January, the sky will look completely different. Now, when you look to the eastern horizon and wait until you see Orion's belt rising on the horizon, you will notice that it's too light outside to see any stars, and Orion's belt cannot be seen on the horizon. But if we go back to December 24th, Christmas Eve, and you go outside and you wait until you see Orion's belt appear on the eastern horizon, you will notice that these three stars appear to begin their journey across the sky immediately at dusk.
Three wise men.
This constellation rises on the horizon just when the sky is dark enough to expose the stars,
heralding the virgin birth.
And these stars travel further across the night sky on Christmas Eve than they do any other night.
On this midnight, also on the eastern horizon, you will see Virgo, the Virgin, peeking her head above the horizon. By 3:30 a.m. on Christmas morning, the Virgin is completely above the horizon. She then takes her position. She prepares to symbolically give birth to the sun after stepping on the head of serpents, the celestial serpent, with her foot. The morning sun will rise just below Virgo on this particular morning, as though she were giving birth to it, the mythological birth of the sun god, born of a virgin.
And there you have it. So, interesting. I just find it interesting. So, on this Christmas, there's a lot of things to consider, a whole bunch of things to consider. So, I just think that's super interesting. Thank you for indulging me. Here is election issues, and apparently, according to Eves, the Canadian government, actually according to the Canadian government itself, apparently over the last year, the Canadian government spent the year promoting peace and human rights in Gaza and elsewhere. So there's this video, and it's put out by Foreign Policy Canada 22 hours ago, and it says, in 2024, Canada took decisive action as we worked with international partners to tackle global challenges, promote peace, democracy, and human rights. Watch our year in review. And the year in review is really weird. It's got these bleeps and bloops, and there's no voiceover, but it's got text that you can read. I guess I'll read it. I'll read some of it, and there's some that I found really odd. I thought the text was really weird. One of those is global challenges demand collective action. This is Canada's year in review. So global challenges demand communism. Canada launched an Arctic foreign policy that safeguards our Arctic sovereignty and promotes our national interest and reflects the Arctic's integral role in our national identity. And then, obviously, global challenges demand collective action. So collective action is part of this thing. Here are the bleeps and bloops. Hear it? We strengthened existing partnerships and cultivated new ones. That 25% tariff is super... That makes our relationship with the United States super strong. We'll not mention that. We advanced Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy, reinforcing our relationship with ASEAN and many Indo-Pacific economies. I mean, maybe, but I don't believe anything that Mel Joly has to say. So all of these bleeps and bloops I don't think are accurate. In the Middle East, we supported our citizens in the affected regions, advocating for humanitarian support, calling for diplomatic resolution. Aren't we funding the Ukrainian war and Israel and UNRWA? Like, aren't we funding all of that? Like, it's contradictory. Like, we're not doing the things that they're saying that we're doing. But it's lovely propaganda. Actually, it's kind of lazy propaganda, if you ask me. It's kind of the bleeps and bloops and no voiceovers. It tells to me they're cost cutting. I mean, jeepers creepers, I could do a voiceover. Anyway, Brian Lilly is highlighting this. I like this. Poilievre is being very plain. Somebody was accusing me of not appreciating peers. I'm paraphrasing, but I apologize to paraphrase, but I'm doing the show, so I'm not going to go look. But basically saying that I didn't see the meat that Poilievre was putting on things since the Apple interview, and he really wasn't. He was doing a lot of slogans: axe the tax, bring it home, a lot of sloganizing. And my criticism with Danielle Smith and to an extent, and with Poilievre is talking about gender ideology and allowing, not talking plainly about gender ideology. Like, the litmus test for me is Trump says, if a doctor in your hospital performs these mutilating, damaging surgeries, your hospital will lose all funding, period. You and your hospital will burn, basically. And Danielle Smith and Poilievre, who voted for this kind of stuff, C6, I think it was, hasn't walked that back, hasn't acknowledged being incorrect. Danielle Smith says at 16 you can change your name and have parents informed. At 18 you can start on drugs. That's not acknowledging reality. I have a problem with that. I have issues with the agreements made before Poilievre took over the Conservative Party, and I have concerns that the agreements that are in place are going to negatively impact Poilievre's ability to do what needs to be done to fix the country. Now, and really only in the last 10 days, I would say, 2 weeks, really strong, the language has been changing, and that's good. I think that he's saying things that he needs to say it's necessary to put this kind of meat on the bones of the sloganizing. The slogans worked. People like them. People repeated them. People talk about them with talking about the party. And I mean, look at the polls. It worked. It's fine. But I have concerns about the party. I have concerns that they're not going to pull us out of the UN 2030 agenda. I have concerns that it's going to be itchy in a different way, right? Like, sure, he's going to axe the tax, but there's going to be other things that are going to be coming in play that are just as bad isn't right, but they're not removing us from the WHO as far as I understand it. They're not removing us from the Paris Agreement. So there are infrastructure fundamentals. No, hold on. I have to think of the word. Foundational things that are still in place that Canada's agreed to that bind his hands. So he has to either remove Canada from it, speak plainly about it, like you can't change your gender and we're going to stop funding these kind of surgeries, things like that. I have concerns, but I think I'm allowed to have concerns. But when he speaks like this, okay, let's see what he's going to do, right? I mean, I try and give credit where it's due. I really, really do. So here's Polyev talking about getting rid of the DEI in the military. And that's great. And the other day I highlighted when he was talking about getting rid of the El Gawabi and the Islamophobia and stuff. They haven't done anything. They haven't solved any problems. In fact, things have only gotten worse. Why spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on these people? Let's get rid of them. Credit where it's due. He said it yesterday. I think I played it yesterday. And so good, great. Here's Polyev putting more meat on the bones for the Conservative Party. And if he does this, wonderful. I'll be happy with this. Here we go.
Because this insane woke DEI obsession is driving people away. Nobody wants to be part of this woke social engineering project that the NDP Liberals are trying to impose on our military. Our young men and women want to fight for this country. And the first thing I will do when I'm Prime Minister is to bring back a warrior culture, not a woke culture. And we will be recruiting warriors to fight for this country again. That will be the purpose. They will be here to defend our homeland against danger and threats abroad. And I can tell you, when you put out that clarion call, the young people of this nation will come rushing in to put on that uniform. I guarantee it.
He's probably right. He's probably right. And the woke military is a joke, and people don't want to be a part of that. They just don't. Here is Pierre Polyev again. He says, for nearly a year and a half as Trudeau's public safety minister, Dominic LeBlanc supported this weirdo policy allowing violent male criminals to move to female prisons where they can prey on women again. No wonder crime has spiraled out of control under LeBlanc. Now he's the finance minister. Hold on to your wallet. And we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But again, Pierre Polyev says, a man who killed his wife and 2 kids now claims that he's a woman to go to a female prison. If I'm prime minister, then that there will be no males in female jails. Great, right? Like he didn't say this until recently, right? But this has been a big problem for a long time. People have been advocating for somebody to take this up for a while, right? Like I used to know prison guards who were talking about this years ago, and they weren't comfortable with it. They didn't like it, but if it meant their job or looking the other way, they looked the other way. Right? That's not great. Dr. Leslyn Lewis is talking about this. She's talking about charitable status of churches. She says, while we were all distracted with the events of last week, the Liberals, Bloc and NDP members of the Finance Committee proposed that organizations like churches should be stripped of their charitable status. This is serious and dangerous. Only Conservatives will stand up for religious freedom and charitable organizations. I don't think that's true. I think People's Party would stand up for that kind of stuff. I'm not sure if there's a policy specifically about that, but I think it's interesting how the Liberals want to bring in foreigners and exempt them from taxes and give them functionally $80,000 a year of food and lodgings, et cetera, and phones and just like cash money. But if you have a conservative church, they're like, oh yeah, no charitable organization money for you. No keeping your own money that people donated to you from already taxed money. Nope. Right? Like that's pretty ballsy, if you ask me. Arif Varini is talking about this kind of success, and I think this kind of success doesn't really belong in Canada. It's racist nonsense. replace black with any other race, right? Replace black with white. You can't do this stuff. In this year's fall economic statement, we dedicated $312.4 million to establish Canada's Black Justice Strategy, a cross-governmental approach to addressing the overrepresentation of black people in the criminal justice system, including as victims of crime. So it's weird that they want to decriminalize a whole bunch of drugs for black people. It's for your safety, comrade. We're going to decriminalize drugs so you can not be in jail as much. There you go. You're welcome. We're going to make things that were previously illegal, legal, so your community isn't put in jail so much. That's crazy town. That's bonkers. And Arif Farini is celebrating that as a win. Yikes. National Post is reporting, I think this is an opinion piece, the Liberals have only one choice, an election. It is an opinion piece. Maybe. They actually have two choices, prorogation, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. That would be able, he could prorogue right until October. And I don't know if there's a mechanism that can stop him. So the good news in that would be everything dies on paper at an election, right? If it's prorogued, he can't get anything through and everything dies on paper. So that would be good, but bad also because we'd rather have an election, but we'll see. We will see what happens. Here is True North. The New Brunswick Liberal government will walk back on defending parents' rights and children from the harms of gender ideology. So New Brunswick Liberals reverse Higgs parental rights and pronoun policy. So I don't even know what the pronoun policies in Ontario schools are. I mean, I'm close enough to all the teachers, et cetera. They all know me. I've been into the classrooms multiple times, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm fairly assured that that's not happening in my daughter's classroom at this point in time in Ontario, but I don't know what the laws are at this point. And a lot of the teachers are trying to backdoor it anyway. They teach it without mentioning that they're teaching it. And so that's interesting. Well, a lot of the captured teachers do. But now the New Brunswick government is making that you can do it openly. What do you guys think if you're in New Brunswick? Are people happy about this? It seems like the New Brunswick election was rigged, but Saskatchewan was able to have an election not be rigged. And people have said the Saskatchewan one was done fully on paper ballots with hand counting, and the election results were delivered that night. Whereas New Brunswick, I don't think that was the case. I think they had Dominion machines involved. So, it's very interesting. Is this what people want? I don't think it is. Personally. Here is Toronto Star, and it says, over 2 years of collecting results in Rage Index survey, Poller, a research firm, has found that Canadians are angrier than they've ever been. And do you want to know why? Mainly, it's due to one person. Donald Trump. What? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It has nothing to do with lying to children about being maybe the other gender. Nothing to do with that. Has nothing to do with Justin Trudeau destroying Canada's economy. Nothing to do with any of that. Nothing to do with Justin Trudeau destroying the immigration system to the point where we're being fully invaded and we're paying for it. Nothing to do with truckers being crushed by the Emergency Act in an illegal way by the government. Nothing to do with any of that. The real thing that's making Canada angry, Donald Trump, because that last season of The Apprentice was a real disappointment, Donald. Holy smoke, man. You could do better. Oh my gosh. Steven says, yeah, I'm sure it's because of Trump, who hasn't been president of another country for 4 years. Surely it couldn't be the sack of poop that has decimated Canada and our way of life over the last 9 years, who also just happens to pay your salary to write this ridiculous leftist tripe. This is the Toronto Star. How do you even end up with an article like this? Trump hasn't even been in charge for years. And they've been running this poll for the last 2 years. And Donald Trump has been the one to dominate it, not Justin Trudeau. Yeah, sure. Not believable. Liars. Here's Invincible West. It says, breaking unprecedented poll reveals ultra-nationalist Austrian FPO party has gained 8.2% following the German Christmas market massacre. We're about to surge. Buckle up. So Peter St. Ong says, after the Christmas massacre, right-wing populists in Austria now have nearly the support of both mainstream political parties combined. Europe's elite is running out of time. And when Europe flips, it'll flip hard. Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. The people in charge seem to be able to play games to keep their power intact. And it's incredible, but they're able to do it over and over and over again. CBC, let's talk about the economy and money mismanagement. CBC Watcher says the Prime Minister Trudeau will chair a meeting of the Cabinet Committee on U.S.-Canada Relations today amid increasing calls for his resignation. This was the role that Trudeau wanted Freeland to be in. And so I guess he can't find anybody else to do it, so he'll do it. A midday adjustment to Trudeau's itinerary was issued by the Prime Minister's office and notes that he will take part in the meeting virtually, though a specific time was not listed. So what? He's like, and he's in Hawaii. Like, sorry. Pay no attention to the steel drums in the background. That's one of my aides making it feel like I'm on vacation. Yeah, bull. This is just basically the same thing, saying that he's going to the meeting virtually, and neither Trudeau nor Finance Minister LeBlanc issued a public comment after the meeting. So they had a meeting, nothing changed, and so no updates. Sorry about that. Still the 25% tariffs coming. Merry Christmas. Cringe face, right? Mark is reporting this. Dominic LeBlanc is now Canada's finance minister. Zero experience in finance. Who needs experience in finance when you control the books and nobody can look at it? And I mean, you're just inheriting a she-session from Freeland, right? He broke ethics laws in the past. This is the person that tasked with managing a crumbling economy, a ballooning deficit, and a currency in free fall, and Trump tariffs. Is the government actively trying to sabotage Canada? Yes. Yes. Next question. Absolutely, 100%. They definitely want they definitely want as much debt as possible for this, actually. There's a documentary I've got. It's Whitney Webb. That's not it. None of those are it. It's Whitney Webb talking about the DEI, and she is going through how... Hold on, I'm going to find this. Here it is. It's the Whitney Webb one later in the DEI section, okay? And basically, they're saying they're going to try and get as much debt as possible, and then they have to have a big event like World War II in order to, after the big event, reinvent the monetary system. So it's like, oh, we learned X, Y, Z during this World War II thing that we just went through, and because of what we learned, we have to do this. And like, you're on board, right, soldier? And that's basically it. And they're basically saying, if you come on to our new monetary system, we'll pay you, 1-to-1, whatever this is, big incentives to come on to the new monetary system, and like incentives to the degree where people would say, oh, you'd be insane not to get in now. Part of the mechanism is as much debt as possible. And so like, is the government actively trying to sabotage Canada? Yes, because the game they're playing wants that to happen. They want to have as much debt as possible in order to make the uptake for the next phase as big as possible. And the more debt helps that. So that's what's going on. Holly Doan says, Canada Revenue Agency, this has more to do with a finance minister who has broken ethics laws. And Holly Doan points this out. The Canada Revenue Agency would not comment on warnings that it will enforce a $17.4 billion capital gains tax increase through the measure, though the measure never passed Parliament. Manager Nina says the CRA will continue to administer the proposed legislation as if it was law. So it's not law. So why can they do that? Hey, that's weird. Super duper weird. Here's the year-end naughty and nice list, or the Christmas naughty and nice list from the Taxpayer Federation. Taxpayer naughty and nice list, Franco says. And the naughty list is the CBC CEO, Catherine Tate, for dishing out Santa-sized executive bonuses. Trudeau, it's $18 million in bonuses this year. Trudeau for hiking his carbon tax every year and making life more expensive. On the nice list, Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe for telling Trudeau's carbon taxers to take a hike. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith for taking the carbon tax back to court. Former Kensington Mayor Rowan Casely for forcing his town council to stop wasting money. So there you go. The naughty list way outspent the nice list this year, unfortunately. So, yowza. Here's Lawrence and highlighting this UK situation. The Mirror is reporting US or UK economy flatlines. Here's why that could actually be good news for millions of Brits. Oh, yay, the economy's flat. But don't worry, stagflation is good for these 9 reasons. Lawrence says, coming up next time on Final Last Gasps of the Legacy Media, how a terminal cancer diagnosis can actually be a blessing in disguise. Yay. Oh, I love dying. Come on, really? Bernie is highlighting this as well. This is UK as well, but it's all of these scams happen in Canada too. We just don't recognize them because they have different names. But all of this kind of waste happening here too. And we don't have any mechanism to hold anybody accountable to stop it. So that's pretty cool. Thames Water spent the millions of pounds they raised from higher water bills earmarked for cleanup operations and secretly diverted it to pay staff bonuses and dividends to shareholders. And the government just tutted. We have no control over the mass corporations. Tutted's going, that's what it is. Oh, you shouldn't do that. I grew up with a British mother. That's what she did. Table Salt says, major breaking news. This is back to Canada. Major breaking news, new data release. Loblaws in Brampton hired 41 Lima foreign workers in Q3 2024 amid record high youth unemployment. In total, 49,000 Limas were approved across Canada, a record high. Part-time jobs for teens are dead in Canada. So that's not great. That's not great. I remember I said to my kid the other day, I used to have, yesterday we were going out to buy a present for his mom for Christmas, and he said, do I have to pay for it? And I said, yes, you've got to pay for it. What are you talking about? And he said, oh, okay. And I said, when I was a kid, I had a job. I didn't have an allowance in the way you have an allowance. I had to go, I was a paper boy. And he's like, a paper boy? He's like, what's that? And I said, well, before the internet, son, let me tell you, there were these things called newspapers, and we had there's a local paper, but nobody pays for the local paper, I guess. So I showed him, I was like, it was like this, but it was bigger and had all the news rather than just the local news. And he was like, okay. I said, so papers would be dropped off at my house. I would have to put them in my paper bag, and then I would walk to the street that I was delivering the papers on, and I would deliver all the papers on that street. And then I would have to go and collect money from those people, and I'd pay for the papers to the Guelph Mercury, and I would get to keep the leftover, and that's what I got paid. And then I would use that money to buy Christmas presents. And that was a long walk for him. And he was like, hold on a second. You got newspapers? I was like, oh man. So days gone by, right? Now, if you want to be a paperboy, you need a car, and you need I don't think they have paperboys in the same way they did have paper routes when I was a kid. I remember looking in the Trib and the Mercury, both. My parents didn't get the paper, and my dad would read the Toronto Star. But every so often we'd get a Mercury in the house, and I'd look at the job section, and they always had paper routes available. There's always 10 or 12 paper routes available. You could always get a paper route. I digress. Let's talk about wasted money. In the United States, they have DOGE, which is the Department of Government Efficiency, which looks at government spending and says, hey, probably we don't have to spend money on this. In the United Kingdom, there's Charlotte. And Charlotte, I have a mini crush on Charlotte. Not really, but I mean, I like her content, and I think she's very funny in the way she presents it. And so she highlights all of this wasteful spending on nonsense, absolute bloody nonsense. And here is Rand Paul, Ron Paul's son, highlighting the same waste in the United States for just various things. It's only a minute, so here we go.
Gin to a sunfish versus tequila, which would make the sunfish more aggressive? Nearly $1 million spent.
This is an important study. How do you like them apples?
Studying whether or not Japanese quail, if you give them cocaine, whether or not they're more sexually promiscuous. Was it one small step for man?
Can we get the quail on OnlyFans?
Or was it one small step for a man? And in the end, $750,000 later, they couldn't decide. Was it one step for man, one step for a man? $2 million for the construction of a kelp and shellfish nursery in Maine. $1.5 million to encourage video gaming in New York. We might be better off spending $1.5 million to discourage kids from playing video games. $388,000 for Columbia University. Be giving a rich university that has $13 billion any money. $249,000 for the Baltimore Symphony. Give money to all the symphonies, and we'd make them part of government. Whether or not...
I don't know. cuttlefish or quail being more sexually promiscuous. Super interesting study. Waste of money, right? It's a waste of money. And like, are those researchers really finding that out, or are they just making shit up? It's ChatGPT. They're just asking ChatGPT to do it. Get Based says the Federal Reserve used the United States dollar to take over the United States. The CIA used the US dollar to take over the world. I think that the plan that I highlighted just like 5 seconds ago with BlackRock, here it is. I think they use this model that this documentary goes over, the Fed using Jekyll Island and debt to take over the United States and the US dollar, and then basically using the US dollar as a weapon to expand their reach. I think that's what they're going to do with central bank digital currency just worldwide. I think it plugs into each other just like directly, like real smooth. The CIA used the dollar to take over the world. In 24 hours, we're dropping a long-awaited Jekyll Island documentary. So this is Ian Carroll, and they're talking about monetary money and the way money is used to control. I'll just play the minute here. Here we go.
This is the first time that we've had the Fed in charge in the United States after a major war has just swept Europe, and the US is clearly on top in the global order. They've got all this industry and all this power, and they have this meeting called Bretton Woods where they're going to heal the global financial system, reset the global monetary system because everyone is decimated. And this is where they make the dollar, the US dollar, the global reserve currency, and they set up a system by which every other country is going to be beholden to the US dollar and to the Federal Reserve System. On one hand, they'll manipulate another country with monetary policy and try to force countries to do their bidding through monetary coercion, and if they don't comply, then they have the jackals, the CIA, to come around as the muscle and to overthrow the government or to assassinate someone or to start a coup or whatever it is. And so now you've gone from the Federal Reserve taking over the United States and the United States money, and then after World War II, the whole global monetary system needs to be rebuilt, and they rebuild it in the Fed's image using the American dollar while founding the covert military force, essentially, that is going to enforce that dollar supremacy all around the world.
Yeah. Interesting. Here's prorogation. Let's talk about that. Here's David Jacobs, and he says House Father wants Trudeau to prorogue government so the Liberals can kick Trudeau out and then vote for a new leader in a 3-month process. That's never happening. Canada shouldn't be held captive by a minority government in meltdown. Election now. They definitely want to hold Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau want to hold Canada hostage the whole time. Seriously. Here is Anthony Housefather talking to Rosemary Barton, and he's talking about wanting Trudeau to go. It's 50 seconds. Here we go.
Caucus members are increasing the pressure on the Prime Minister to step down. 21 MPs have publicly said they want Trudeau to go.
The Prime Minister is living in a false reality. He's delusional if he thinks we can continue like this.
That pressure ramped up again yesterday during an Ontario Liberal caucus meeting where sources tell CBC News more than 50 Liberal MPs came to the consensus that the Prime Minister needs to step down.
We're in an impossible situation if he stays because he will be the ballot issue. We won't be looking at Liberal programs. We won't be looking at anything else. It'll all be a question for voters. Do they want Justin Trudeau to stay Prime Minister? What I believe is the Liberal Party will do far better in the next election with a different leader. Far more of my colleagues will be re-elected if we have a different leader at the next election.
Liberal caucus members are increasing the pressure.
So Housefather doesn't care about the impact of Trump's tariffs, doesn't care about anything other than his prospects at the next election. Stephen Taylor is highlighting Justin Trudeau talking about prorogation, and Justin Trudeau doesn't like prorogation when it's being used by Stephen Harper, and he used that to grandstand. But the suit looks too big, the hair looks too long, and he speaks. It's bad acting. Here's I don't want to play much of this, but here's the first 25 seconds because the acting is bad. He's clearly the body doubles have gotten better at acting. Justin Trudeau himself, not so much, but the body doubles have gotten better at acting. Here we go.
Gives us an opportunity to look back at prorogation and of all that it is a symptom of, and ask ourselves some serious questions about what we are doing here in this room. So troubling to have seen over the past 4 years a culture of division, of cynicism, of secrecy, of lack of accountability permeate this House in its entirety.
Bad acting. I've seen better acting on Highlander, the television series. Here's, damn, I hate that I like this, but this actually made me laugh. This was pretty funny. The Freeland character is pretty funny. The Trudeau character is pretty funny. This is from This Hour, has 22 minutes. It's pretty funny. Damn, it's pretty funny. Here we go.
Another non-confidence vote, Christian. How long will this last?
Justin, it's time to think about the future.
You mean robot lovers?
No. Like the near future? How's your resume?
I don't have one. Do you?
Oh, yeah. One for each sector. Each with their own corresponding scent. I've got agriculture, banking, media, not-for-profit.
Ew.
Yeah.
I don't need another job, Christian. The Canadian people will come around.
Trudeau, come on down here and let me film you like a man.
Let's begin writing my resume.
Resume. I have been waiting 9 years for this.
We'll leave it there. There's more gems in it. I thought it was pretty funny. The first time I saw it, I was like, they're actually taking the piss out of Trudeau. They're being funny about how crazy Chrystia Freeland is. There are the funny elements from that. So you can watch the rest of it if you're interested. But it's CBC, so mileage may vary. Freedom Warrior says, this is our grab bag of governance, says, how about we get rid of some of these charities which are and could be directly linked to other organizations like UN, WEF, WHO, and Danielle Smith. Like, what's your game, Danielle Smith? Honestly, it's ridiculous. So on December 23rd at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, while you're worrying about Christmas, maybe doing some Christmas cookie baking or out at the mall to get some last minute gifts, etc., Danielle Smith posts this. I had great meetings this week with the Anti-Racism Advisory Council, the Black Advisory Council, the Premier's Council on Multiculturalism, and Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. I'm grateful for the incredible work our community leaders are doing to build a stronger Alberta. Merry Christmas to you, and thank you for standing up and making sure every Albertan feels at home in our province. Nope. Nope. Big fat nope. What's your game, Danielle Smith? True North, they post stuff like this around Christmas time, so it goes unnoticed. That's why they do it, okay? That's my opinion, I think. But also borne out by evidence. True North says, Health Canada's survey focused on advanced requests, which would allow people who might be incapable of making decisions in the future to give their advanced consent for the medical assistance in dying program. Listen, I want to die when I've lost my mind. I've had people say that to me, but I don't know that being able to take out if you're competent, right? If you're of sound mind, that's the whole purpose of a will, right? Like you can sound mind say, I give consent to do X and Y, and you can sell the boat and you can do this and that. So doing something like this sounds like an extension of, a will, last request, but it's more like a living will. But when does it get invoked, right? They need some strong protections around that kind of stuff. Because I see nothing wrong with making your will known. It's the abuse in the system. Like, oh yeah, he signed up for MAID 2 weeks ago, and here it is now because now he's incompetent, right? Like I feel like this could be abused, and there are problems with that. So, and you can have lots of legal protections, but it can be abused very easily, and then all of a sudden the person's dead. Adam Seuss is reporting this. Pastor Derek Ramier has been sentenced to a 12-month conditional sentence, that's house arrest, and 2 years of probation for harassing a library manager and implying that they shouldn't be hosting grooming events, drag story hours. So I showed footage of this on my program when it happened, and he was videotaping the drag story event. He was asking the manager who was doing this why she was doing this, and they put him in jail for a year for that. Whereas people get bail for gun crimes in Toronto. So, it's very obvious to me that they're doing things to chill people from pushing back on these drag queen story hours, right? Libs of TikTok, let's talk about DEI and how that's being rolled out around. Wikipedia's annual budget report from 23-24 reveals that they spent over $50 million of their total $177 million budget on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Stop donating to Wikipedia. So, equity, $50 million. Wow, unbelievable stuff. That's crazy. Equity is $31 million, and safety and inclusion is $20 million. Wild. Here is digital ID being rolled out in England. This is the Christmas commercial that they'd love you to buy and fall for. Here we go. Merry Pintmas, it says. A DSIT Christmas story.
Right, mate?
Right, mate. Can I get a pint of lager, please?
Yeah, of course. Can I just see some ID?
Yeah, no worries. I've got it somewhere here.
Hi, can I have a pint of Christmas cracker, please?
Certainly.
I know it's a surprise for everyone, but I don't get asked for my ID anymore. But for loads of young people, they get asked all the time when they want to buy a drink. So we're changing the law so that next Christmas, young people will have their ID on their phone, so they won't have all of the hassle of needing to get ID or leaving their ID at home, or their paper ID getting lost or damaged. There's already 50 digital apps like this one. But what it means is that bar staff can scan to prove somebody's identity, and it doesn't give away any personal information. So it means that giving your ID is safer than it's ever been before. Changes like these are going to create economic growth for our country, which is key to our plan for change.
There you are.
Great, thanks. You can put it on the tab. So this means by next Christmas, buying a pint will be a little bit easier.
It's a very bad value proposition. It's a solution. It's a solution that doesn't really have a problem. Like, it works, and sure, you could modernize it, but the downside to modernizing it is complete digital slavery. So how about we don't? How about we just stick with cash and don't do that? Here's Lewis. He says, the UK government and the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology have released a video showcasing their digital identification system set to be rolled out next year. In the video, they depict anyone using physical ID as clumsy and outdated. Yeah, and that's by design. Bev says, March 2021, vaccine passports were always the gateway drug to digital ID and mass population control. Our children will not know the freedoms that we've taken for granted. I wish I'd been wrong. We have 1 year to stop this nightmare. Fight. So this is the rollout. I mean, they're announcing the rollout now. So it's... The Department for Science says, ordering a pint under 25 can be hard. Searching for your wallet to find your ID card. But next year, with new laws across the land, you can prove your age with the phone in your hand. No, thank you very much. This is Whitney Webb's thing. And hold on, I'm going to see if I can find the part where she talks about as much debt as possible. Okay, here she is talking about all wars are bankers' wars. And then he talks about using the debt to kind of incentivize people to move into Bitcoin or into the new monetary system. And they're using Bitcoin as a hedge. They're using Bitcoin as like an M0, but it's well, they get into it. Here's just a little part.
Which there is plenty of evidence to support that, I would say. That seems to suggest that perhaps, this is the it's going to be a problem reaction solution type of situation where they've already made the solution. They've already developed what they want to be the new financial governance system after this new Bretton Woods moment. They just need some sort of big event on the scale of World War II or some large event that's, equally disruptive in order to be like, all right, now it's time for a new financial governance system after this big event like they did after World War II.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the thing that's so interesting about this debt bubble exploding is that when you know that the debt bubble is going to explode and you want to explode it into the new system, the way that you sort of trigger that into the system that you want to get the masses to go with you is you actually want to have the most debt obligations on the record, on the board, so that when the system pops, they'll all pop. When the debt bubble pops, every debt bubble will pop. It will be everything all at once. It won't just be like, oh, Japan's fine, the U.S. is it won't work like that. Everything will pop at once. So in this weird way, you actually want to create as much debt as possible right before the pin bursts the bubble, and then you can offer this, hey, we'll service your debt 1-to-1 if you come join this new universal tokenized ledger. Just sign up here, do a selfie of your face, and give us your biometrics, and then here you are.
Well, it seems like in Larry Fink's case in particular, there's a goal, a big ambition there to develop new asset classes that.
Yes, and so she talks here about going and discovering a waterfall and then naming the waterfall and then giving the rights to the waterfall to some water company or something like that. And this is a new asset class, and she's talking about commoditizing the world like that. But I'm just interested in exploding the debt into the Bitcoin and encouraging people to move that way. This is kind of like DEI, but it's more invasion than DEI. So sorry, but imagine what a homeless veteran would give to have a 150-pound per night warm bed with 3 hot meals per day served, as well as security protecting them this Christmas, let alone any other day of the week. We put shame on our own country when our citizens are left to die in the cold, while our charity is awarded to those who entered the country illegally. So DEI prioritizes serving illegals over citizens for some reason. And this all ties together. This all ties together with the digital ID, with the New World Order, what they're trying to do invade the country and get digital IDs. If you don't feel safe, then you want to enable somebody who says, I can make you feel safe again. And how do they do that? Drones, man. Obviously, drones, surveillance drones, and digital IDs. And here's Lisa to tell us why. They're flooding the country with illegals so that you'll allow them to mandate digital ID. There you go. Right? So thanks, Lisa. Appreciate it. That's what's going on. That's what they want. Here is a weird technology where if you know, I have a train simulator. My son really liked trains for a while. And so I have a train simulator on PlayStation. And this is how you move them. Like part of the train simulator is learning how to put this little thing up and touch the electric at the top so that the engines can drive. And I can't remember which train it is, but it was one in France or something like that. And they want to do this with trucks in Germany. So they've got 6 miles of this in Germany. And my response to this is like, or you could just make gas cheap again. Like, what? Or we could make oil and gas really, really cheap. If it's a good idea, sure. But it looks like a lot of infrastructure to maintain. There's a lot of towers. There's a lot of wires. There's a lot of moving parts. Like, I just don't think so. I don't think so. I think that this is pie in the sky. Like, this is stuff that you look at it in the 1900s and go, man, if we could just get off these wires, we could pass each other, all this sorts of stuff. I don't know. You want a train? Put it on a train. You want a truck? Gas it up, for crying out loud. So that's annoying. In Germany, 20,000 angry Germans have gathered at the central square in Magdeburg after an appeal from the ADF party to take to the streets against Germany's open borders immigration policies. The car ramming attack against the Christmas market has people calling for mass deportations. They're going to ignore it until it goes away. And then another thing's going to happen, and this is going to happen again, and they just ignore it until it goes away. You can't get justice from a communist court. You can't say, these people are communists, we have to arrest them. And then the communist court says, oh, actually, it's those far right is actually the problem, and you owe these communists their legal fees. There you go. And we're not going to stop importing the population for the reasons of digital ID. Okay, that's what they want. If you feel unsafe, and these Germans feel unsafe, these are prime targets, prime people looking for a product that will make them feel safe. Enter digital ID, right? So they've got Germany right where they want them. Right? And that's not good. It's not good because it won't take much to get us right where they want us too. Mario says Italy extends military aid to Ukraine until 2025. Italy is sticking with Ukraine through 2025, approving more weapons, gear, and support to counter Russia. The whole thing is ridiculous. Since 2022, they've sent 10 aid packages, including SAMP-T air defense systems, proof that Franco-Italian teamwork isn't just for fancy dinners. Meloni remains Kiev's biggest ally, even as U.S. support under Trump looks shaky. All of this is bad. We should stop funding that war. And yeah, it's bad, and we should stop it, period. We are being played, and probably played by Mossad. Here he says, we're the writers, we're the producers, we're the stars. We manufacture reality, and people dance to our fake reality. This is what governments do. We have a fake reality. We have politics based on fake reality, and we're dancing to their fake beat. And if we want to get in touch with real reality, well, you can't get justice from a communist court. Okay? Here's Mossad talking about the fake reality.
How did you convince Hezbollah to buy this?
Well, obviously, they didn't know that they were buying it from Israel.
Who did they buy it from, or think they were buying it from?
We have an incredible array of possibilities of creating foreign companies that have no way being traced back to Israel, shell companies over shell companies who affect the supply chain to our favor. We create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors. The world is our stage.
How did you convince Hezbollah?
How did you convince Canada to wear masks? How did you convince the whole world to wear masks? How did you convince them to inject that? How did you convince them to lock down? How did you convince them to do 15-minute cities? How did you convince them to get digital IDs? How did you convince them? The world is a stage. They're the actors, directors, producers, and stars. You see how we're manipulated? I hope you do. Anyway, that's enough out of me. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for your support. I'll be here tomorrow. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope you get all your Christmas stuff done, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.